The phone rings. A man's voice flirts with her, casually asking, "What's your favorite scary movie?" At first, it's harmless banter. Then it turns creepy. He knows what she's wearing. He's watching her from outside. Suddenly, it's a game. Horror movie trivia. The prize? Her boyfriend Steve lives. The question? Who was the killer in Friday the 13th? Casey confidently answers, "Jason." Wrong, it was Mrs. Voorhees. Steve dies. Panicking, Casey runs through the house, locking doors. But the killer is already inside. Wearing a ghost mask and wielding a hunting knife, he slashes and stabs her just as her parents arrive, hearing her dying gasp over the phone. The camera pans to her bloody body, swinging from a tree. Welcome to Woodsboro. Next day, we meet Sidney Prescott, the central figure of this horror saga. It's been almost a year since her mother, Maureen Prescott, was raped and murdered. The killer was caught and wary, thanks to Sidney's testimony, but she's still processing the trauma. She lives with her dad and is dating Billy Loomis, a mysterious, somewhat intense guy who wants to take things to the next level. But Sidney isn't ready. At school, Casey and Steve's deaths are the talk of the campus. Her friends weigh in. Tatum, her sarcastic bestie, Stu, Tatum's manic boyfriend, and Randy, the film geek who lives and breathes horror logic. Already you can feel the tension. Everyone's a suspect. And Ghostface? He's just getting started. That night, Sidney is alone at home. Her dad's out of town. Suddenly, the phone rings. It's that voice again, the same chilling tone Casey heard. He taunts her, mocks her dead mother, then says, "If you hang up on me, you'll die just like your mother." Sidney bolts. She locks the doors. But it's no use. Ghostface is already inside. There's a chase. She runs upstairs, barricades her door with a closet, smart, and calls 911 using her PC. Just as she escapes to safety, Billy shows up, through the window, with perfect timing. Sidney hugs him in panic, until a cell phone drops from his pocket. Red flag. The cops arrive and arrest Billy, but just moments later, the killer calls again. Billy couldn't have done it, or could he? Enter Gale Weathers, a hungry TV journalist, and author of a controversial book about Sidney's mother's murder. Gale believes Cotton Weary was innocent and that the real killer is still out there. She's here for the story, but she's also here to stir the pot. And Sidney? She's not having it. As Gale smugly approaches her outside the police station, boom, Sidney punches her in the face iconic. Meanwhile, Billy's released. The phone call came after he was in custody, but something still doesn't feel right. Sidney doesn't know who to trust. Now everyone's a suspect. Billy with his creepy eyes and wrong place, right time act. Stu, who dated Casey before her brutal death. Even Randy, whose horror knowledge is a little too detailed. Randy lays out the rules of surviving a horror movie. 1. Never have sex. 2. Never drink or do drugs. 3. Never say, "I'll be right back." They all laugh, but we know better. And now it's confirmed. The killer isn't done. The police issue a curfew. But instead of staying safe, Stu throws a massive party, because nothing bad ever happens when teens throw parties during a murder spree. Everyone shows up. Sidney, Tatum, Randy, Stu, even Gale and Dewey, who pretend to chaperone but are clearly flirting. Gale sneaks in a hidden camera to catch the killer on tape. The party rages. They drink. They watch Halloween. Tatum heads to the garage for more beer and meets Ghostface. She thinks it's a prank until he slashes her arm. She tries to escape through the garage doggy door. Ghostface activates the automatic door, and it crushes her, one of the most brutal kills in the franchise. Meanwhile, Billy shows up again, apologizes to Sidney, and they finally do it. That's rule number 1 broken. Post-hookup, Ghostface strikes again. Billy is stabbed, or so it seems. Sidney runs screaming through the house as chaos erupts. Outside, Dewey investigates a scream and is stabbed in the back. Gale crashes her news van after finding her cameraman's body. Sidney flees the house in full survival mode. Back inside, Randy and Stu argue over who the killer is. Sidney grabs a gun and locks them both out. Then Billy stumbles downstairs, wounded, and suddenly turns. He wipes off the fake blood and says, "We all go a little mad sometimes." Quote from Psycho. And just like that, the killer is revealed. Billy wasn't working alone. His partner, Stu. The motive? Billy's mom left his family after discovering Maureen Prescott. Sidney's mom was having an affair with his father. Killing Maureen was revenge. Killing everyone else? That's just for fun. Stu's reason? Peer pressure, he says, already bleeding from self-inflicted stab wounds. Their plan is to kill Sydney and her dad, then frame it on him. They stab each other to make it look like they survived a bloody massacre. But things don't go as planned. Sydney escapes, hides, and uses the voice modulator to mess with them. One by one, she turns the tables. Sydney reveals herself in full final girl mode, fierce, vengeful, and clever. She stabs Billy with an umbrella. Stu lunges, but she smashes a TV on his head, electrocuting him. Billy recovers and lunges for a final kill, but Gale shows up, gun in hand, and shoots him. Randy, somehow still alive, groans from the floor. He says, "Careful. This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back for one last scare." Right on cue, Billy rises. Sydney finishes him with a bullet to the head.